Hey everyone! So you've learned about Google Calendar to stay organized and on top of your upcoming due dates. And you also learned about Google Tasks and are hopefully getting into a routine of adding your assignments to tasks. Today, you're going to learn about one more Google app, Keep. Now, Google Keep is a great note-taking tool. It's basically digital post-it notes, but better. Let me show you why. So first, to get to Google Keep, if you're looking at your Google Calendar, you'll see that icon, which looks like an orange box with a light bulb in it. That shows up on your right navigation sidebar. If it's hidden, just be sure to click on the caret to show the side panel. You'll notice mine is missing when I've clicked on it, so I'm going to click on it again to show that side panel. When you click on it, you can take a quick note right in that right navigation bar, or if you click on this square with looks like a little paper with a pencil in it, you can click on that to open it in a new tab. And that's what it looks like from there. Another way, if you're signed into your Google account, you'll see the waffle of Google apps. Click on that, and you'll probably need to scroll through your list of apps. It's almost towards the bottom there where you see that Google Keep icon. And lastly, from any browser, you can type keep.google.com. Google Keep is also integrated in Google Docs, so just like in Calendar, you'll see that on the right navigation bar there. And I'm also going to show you how you can add a Google Keep note to a brand new Google Doc. So let's get started. Within Google Keep, it looks like this. You can start typing right on your screen to take a new note. If you want to title your note, let's say this is my science bell ringer, I can add that there. Clicking off of the screen and my notes show up as tiles in that white space below. If I want to view them as a list, I can click on that list view and you'll see as I add more notes what that looks like, or you can view it as a grid view. Inside my note, if I need to add a reminder, so maybe I want to get back to this note at a future date, or just a reminder for me to look at it tomorrow, something like that, then I can add a reminder there. I can also add a collaborator, so maybe I want to add a classmate if I'm working on a project with this classmate, or just keeping my parents informed of something, I can add their email address there. Changing the color of the notes is a good idea for the visual of it. So maybe all of my science notes are going to be in this teal color, while my other subjects or my other notes that I take for something else unrelated to school would be in a different color. So that's a good idea to use. I can also add an image to any of my notes from there, and it will bring me off to my files where I can choose that note. So let's say I'm going to look for my science bell ringer, double click to insert that. And one thing that is really neat about images is if you click on these three dots where you see more, you can choose grab image text. Now what that will do is it's going to take all of the text within that picture and turn it into editable text. And if you scroll down, you'll see here's that text from the picture. So it took exactly what was typed up there, but now it's in an editable form. So if there's something that I need to delete or I want to add to it, I can do that there. Next to the image is archive. Now archive is like saving it for later. So if you no longer need to see that on your main screen, but you do want to save it for later to get back to it, you can click on archive. Notice that it disappeared from my notes screen, but then on the left navigation bar, I have a folder of archived notes. Click on that, and now I can see here is that archived note. To unarchive it, click on that same icon, and if I go back to my notes from this light bulb at the top of my list on the left navigation bar, it shows back up in that main screen. If this is a note I want to always see at the top, I can click on this safety pin to pin that note to the top. So now if I take another note, let's say this is going to be my history research. Maybe I have a project that I'm going to be taking some notes or adding some links to some websites I want to visit there. And then when I click off of that, notice that that new note showed up below the pin note. And just like my science bell ringer, I can also pin that note and they show up on the same level at the top there. That's a good idea if you're working on something and you want to be able to get back to it quickly. Going to these three dots where you see more, you can see that there's add a label. I suggest getting in the habit of adding labels to your notes to stay organized. You can see my labels on the left navigation here. If I click on my to-dos, for example, I'm brought to just those notes that I created with a list of to-dos. So click back on my notes and it goes back to my main screen. These are unlabeled notes, so they're not going to show up in any one of those. So if I click on add a label, I can check the box of the label I want this to appear in, or I can create a new note, a new label for that note to be added to. Again, under more, I could also add a drawing. When I click on add drawing, it brings me to Google Drawing. I can choose the color of my pen, the thickness of the line, and once I add my drawing, click on that backwards arrow, and you can see that that shows up there. There's also a trash can, and that goes for any picture or drawing that I've added, and if I click on that, it will remove it. There's also this undo arrow, so if I made a mistake and I want to go back to what I just had, I can click on that, or I can redo if it's something I just did to either undo or redo. Going back to that add drawing, if you are using your Chromebook and you can write with your finger or a stylus right on your screen, let's say I'm just going to write some text here for a quick note. Maybe that's quicker for me than typing, and then click the arrow back. I can choose that grab image text, and you'll notice that it took that text that I just wrote using my finger on the screen and it turned it into editable text there. Also under more, I have show checkboxes. So if I click on show checkboxes, it will bring up these checkboxes here where I can click on them and it will show up that those are completed tasks, for example, or like say you had a packing list of items and you can check off that you've added those. I can uncheck them to make them show up in the list again. And then if I click hide checkboxes, those go away. Just one of my favorite tools within Keep is this copy to Google Docs. Say I've added a lot of notes and now I want to put them or save them in a Google document. Maybe it's the start of my research paper, for example. If I click on copy to Google Docs, that will actually take everything in that note and now it's been copied to Google Docs. I can open that. It's a brand new document and then it shows up there. Okay, now it's your turn. I want you to go ahead and open up Google Keep, create some labels, maybe one for each of your subject areas, add a note, and then assign a label to that note. Practice with some of the tools that you see under more, such as adding a drawing or showing checkboxes. Give it a try and get real familiar with Google Keep and see about the ways that you might use it within each of your classes.